have a sport of needs. So in addition to doing your studies, you were also involved in sport. You played tennis. You were involved in other extracurricular activities. This year, my dad radio show we host this in Gurdwara. So maybe for the younger audience, can you tell us how you managed to juggle all of that and still exceed in your studies? Did you see अपनी Sikh identity ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਤੇ ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ Sikh identity ਤੋਂ ਕਿੰਨਾ confidence develop ਕੀਤਾ?
Thank you very much for that question. Thanks for having me here everyone today. I echo everything what given the plans you set up at the beginning, so I think it's a great initiative. Hanji, I was juggling a lot of things. I remember there was a point in time where I was in university studying my double degree law and PP, and I had 5 part-time casual jobs, and I was part of the Youth Interfaith Forum. I was a committee member of a political party as well. I was running Vichar with Gurdwara Glenwood and other things, and I think the reason I was able to manage or juggle all of that was because I just enjoyed everything that I did. The ਜਿਵੇਂ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ 3 ਘੰਟੇ ਦੀ ਫਿਲਮ ਦੇਖਣੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ. If we're enjoying it, ਪੂਰੀ ਕਰਕੇ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਉੱਠਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ similarly I enjoyed everything that I did, and that helped. For example, when I was not studying and when I was working, that was beyond time. किताबां ਨਾਲ ਮੱਥਾ ਮਾਰਨਾ ਤੇ ਜਦ ਕਿਤਾਬਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਮੱਥਾ ਮਾਰਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ, that became beyond time for speaking on radio or ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੁਰਮਤਿ ਕਲਾਸਾਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ and so on. So beyond time ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ. And because I had limited time, I knew that I've got 5 hours, I've got to smash out an assignment. And I would do that. Parkinson's ਦਾ log ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੀਜ਼ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਨਾਲ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਫਿਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ I did as well, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਆਮ ਟੈਕਨੀਕਸ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਹਰਕਿਰਨ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਛੋਟੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ, one thing I would say is just ਦਿਨ ਵਿੱਚ 24 ਘੰਟੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, 7 ਘੰਟੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੋਣਾ and then ਬਾਕੀ ਸਾਰਾ ਇੱਕ ਘੰਟਾ I think we should make an effort to ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ how can we use that most productively. And what I used to do is I used to keep I still do, I have a hard copy diary and I write in it every single day still, and timetable banane, to-do lists, prioritizing and so on. So on techniques सारे ਨੂੰ पता ही है. If we implement them, I think, but the most important thing was that I enjoyed everything I did.
Thanks, Nick. I don't know how you managed to do all of that. So, just Nick, what inspired you to pursue a career in the medical field and ultimately become a global medical affairs leader in your industry and in your organisation?
Thank you for that question. I second the opinions of other ladies here. Great initiative and event that you've put on today. So needed in our community. So what inspired me, from a very young age I was very fascinated by science, particularly the human body, how it all works. And in year 10 I had the opportunity to do a placement at a pharmaceutical company in their scientific lab. So having the opportunity to see what I've learned at school translate to real life and potentially, developing medicines and curing diseases around the world, that really motivated me to go into the medical field. So I started my career as a physiotherapist, as you mentioned, did some various studies of, worn many hats, many roles, and I was interested in clinical research, innovation, and just advancement in science and for the human race. So that's how I ended up where I am today at Westmead. And as a Sikh woman, you asked, so I think the values that we have of seva and lifelong learning, that's an integral part of our identity as Sikhs. And I think it aligns very well with my choice to go into the medical field, which is ultimately serving others. Continuing to learn and grow.
Thank you so much. Benji, so you are one of the few female Bajaj that we have. Can you tell us a bit about your Bajaj journey, given that we don't really see many female artists in the world.
Thanks for the question. So I think my journey kind of started almost from a place of, I would say, almost selfishness, because what had happened was that I finished uni, got a job, started working, was doing very well in that job. It was a sales role, but probably about 12 months in, I had already become like a senior person because I was following everything that my manager taught me, and he was a very good salesperson. And I think after about 12 months of doing that, I was, because is this what life is? You just have the same conversation over and over again, and get yelled at on the phone sometimes by people who don't want to have a sales call, which is fair enough. And I just remember one day I was standing in front of a water cooler, like getting a glass thing, and feel like I've done this 10 million times already, and I've been here 12 months. Like this, I can't do this anymore. So I started looking around and going like, can I get another job? What can I do? Like, can I do something a little bit more creative, or do something different? But looking around me, I just kind of saw everybody was in the same position. It felt like that, everybody has to go to work and earn money to pay for life here, and that's kind of the reality. So I thought now might be the only time in my life where I have the ability to just drop everything and go learn something that actually can fulfill me. So that's kind of maybe where it came out from a little bit of a place of selfishness, because I didn't want to just keep doing what I was doing and just keep feeling like this is like empty. And so I went to the basics of Sikhi in London. It was outside London, it was in Birmingham, and spent 6 months there, and I was luckily I was very, very blessed to have that time to spend with Vichar, which many of you might know from basics of Sikhi, and that was just a few months before he passed away as well. So I felt very lucky that I was able to meet him and learn from him, and many of the other basics there.
Thank you so much. The example that you provided of the experience that you had, going into the water cooler millions of times, I'm experiencing that right now. Like, disease plus anything, like, what else is there? So, you already talked about how the Sikh identity has really helped you in your career, but how do you see your work or achievements impacting the Sikh community, particularly in terms of breaking gender-related barriers?
I grew up with literally every single one of my friends being in medicine in some capacity. So while they all talk about, right? I would show up, nobody knew what it. And the joke was going like, you literally have no impact. You can make posters for a living. And which, to your point, the existential crisis that you have as you're working and going, what am I doing every day? For me, luckily, to your point earlier, I mean, like, I enjoy it. So from that perspective, I was like, it's good, but you do hit the point of going, what impact am I having? And then I realized, particularly here, so मेरा jump out kick कनेडा लगा, उठे हले तुसी जे देखो ना एक generation का फर्क है, जिन्हें इस और जे सोचो मेरे मम्मी उठों उधर ज़्यादा साफ साफ से जो हो गए, मेरा jump out पूरा उठे, so very different. I grew up with having Sikhs around normally. I'm not having to explain my identity. It was all there. So when I came here, and all of a sudden, it's not the same. And I think that's when I realized that there's an impact to be made. So from a cultural and diversity perspective, I realized at one point that I have to make a point. And like, it hits you more. Like, I went to an event and I realized I'm sitting at an event and keep in mind, like, the advertising community of this country is small. Once you're in it, you will know everybody who works in it. I went to an industry event of about 1,000 people. Hajar log sige of this industry. Okay, find it on my dating industry. And that reality hits me. And then I had a kid. And I realized, oh my God, he's gonna grow up so seeing more diversity in the advertising and communications world is my fault. Because I have to play a role in that. So for me, my agenda when doing else, and everyone knows this at work too, is like wherever I can push diversity, whether that's in the creative process of writing scripts, whether that's in the way we hire people to make sure that there's actually people reflected in there, that's really big for me. From a gender perspective, there's another role to play that, and you know, I'm sure everyone has experiences with this, but I've sat in boardrooms with CEOs and everybody, and it's like, you know, 8 or 9 old white men, and you're sitting there, and all of a sudden you're supposed to speak up, and you have moments where, for instance, you know, someone refers to you as darling, or things like that. And in those moments, it's that job of one, getting a seat at the table, and going, I don't care what's going on, my work is going to be undeniable that I have a seat at the table. Then once I have a seat at the table, I have the confidence to have an opinion, and secondly, make a point if somebody makes a comment like that, to address it in a way that is actually showing some progress in there. And I think from that perspective, that gender job is not just ours. As Sikh women, that's a job to be done across the board. And I think some industries are going to find it more difficult than others. And I think that's where it becomes, you know, where STEM fields are hard. There's not that many women there. So that's where you can see women need to step up more and challenge that. My industry will be that one of those as well. There's other ones maybe not so much, but I think those are the 2 places where, for me, if I go, all of a sudden, if I go, look back and go, at what point did I decide I don't want to just stand and pour glasses of water for myself? And, you know, what impact can my role have, even though I'm not in an ER saving lives? For me, it was that. Yeah.
Thank you. I think a lot of my parents still believe BJ किसी डॉक्टर नहीं बने, इंजीनियर नहीं बने, they lawyer नहीं बने, वो कोई करियर है ही नहीं. But you know, Benji has demonstrated that if you go into the creative fields or something that you enjoy, that you can make an impact. That's really important. That's it. So what are some of the most significant barriers that you may have encountered in your journey with leadership? Now you are a program manager at My Muslim Chef. And how have you overcome those barriers to be where you are today?
So my journey with leadership was interesting. I think when I got back from Basics of Sikhi Vichar, I kind of had to work out what I was going to do next, because obviously, you know, like everybody does need to work. So I did have to go back and think, okay, what do I want to do work-wise? And I just kind of went, I don't want to do sales, but let me just find something where I have some transferable skills and just quickly find something where I could join and just work my way up and find out what I want to do next. So I ended up working at a travel insurance company, just doing kind of claims, and very quickly it became obvious that if you want a leadership position, you just need to go out, like put yourself out there and make sure that you are doing the work. You know, people can say a lot of stuff, like might be able to, you know, say like, oh, you're a woman, or you know, you're this, you're that, but at the end of the day, you're the person doing the work, and you're the person who knows what the policies are of that business, as an example. Then, you know, what's anyone going to say? If you have the data, then you're the one that everybody's going to listen to. So that's kind of how I found my way up, working up pretty quickly within the organization, was just taking on more responsibility. I think it's very trendy these days to say, like, don't take on any more responsibility at work than you have to. Just do the bare minimum, like they're paying you anyway. And I don't think that's the way things work in reality. If you want to actually grow your career and you want to have a bigger impact in your organization, or you want to take the next step, then it's always been my experience that you have to take on more responsibility even before you get to that next pay grade or that next job title. So yeah, basically worked my way up, like actually taking responsibility. Also got frustrated with that role and managed to find my way into a transition to another part of the business that was not customer facing, but project management space. And from there, had good mentors and just kind kind of kept trying to learn as much as possible about project management, about different systems and processes in the business, so that basically like nobody can say anything to you, you know what you're doing. Yeah, exactly. So then you just said be undeniable for those that you hear. So yes, I think that's probably how I would say I face that. And I think the other part of your question was just like any barriers to that. I think the biggest thing was people will try and put you in a box. People always have assumptions about other people that they work with. We do it as well to other people. We see them and we think they're thinking this about me. And other people think the same thing as well about you. But it's not really your business when anybody else is thinking about what you can do or can't do. If you show up and put in the work and demonstrate that you can do it, then there's nothing else to be said at the end of the day. And I found that the biggest thing as well has been that when I have been in the work position where I did feel like I was disrespected and consistently being disrespected, I started looking for a new role. So we all like to think that we can try and stay there and fight with the organisation and fight with the systemic racism that might be in the organisation. But you can't. And I'm not trying to be negative and say that. It'd be like you can find somewhere that is going to respect you. You can find a manager that will make sure that you're up for the right opportunities, and you can take that step and walk away, and you'll probably find something much better and much more aligned with who you are. So don't ever feel like you have to stay in a place where you're kind of feeling stuck.
Thanks, Sanjhe. I think some of us need that reminder. क्योंकि कई बार ऐसे सोचते हैं अभी काम चल ही जाता है, ठीक है, जो बंदे को कहीं जाता है, it's fine because it's paying the bills. But there are organisations out there that the rules fit right in, where you'll be able to make an impact that really matters.
I 100% agree with you. Don't stay if you're not respected. That being said, don't suffer in silence. I think that's a huge thing that I learned myself. It might be uncomfortable, but if you don't speak up, there's plenty of other people. And I think that comes back to our tenacity, as uncomfortable as it is. And to your point, acknowledge that I might not be able to fix this, but I'm not going to let this go unnoticed. And therefore, you don't realize the one person speaking up, and like I said, you may not notice the difference this time around, and you'll leave 100% for your mental health leave. But all of a sudden, you started a conversation, and you've made people notice, and potentially somebody else is doing the same. It's a little bit more confidence to make you something on their own. So I think that thing of going, we do have to take care of ourselves, but as six, we also have to, have the courage to speak up in those moments. So I think it goes hand in hand, and I know it's so difficult. And I've been in that place before, and it's one. If you're all of a sudden you go, why is it me? I have other things to deal with as well. But then I have to remind myself, going, no, and बाकी लोग चाहे करें या ना करें, मेरी ये जिम्मेदारी नहीं है. मैं जाके बोलना है, बोलना है. मैंने अभी सुनना है, कभी भी जो किसी किया है, मेरा एक बोले है, एक डाउट है. कि मैं तो नहीं कहना कि ठीक है मैं जा रही हूँ, पर किसी को सुनना तो चाहता हूँ. इन्हें ना लगे, इन्हें ना लगे, इधर किसी कार्य में सब कुछ ठीक है, क्योंकि उनको कोई कहना ही नहीं. That's the point. I think we have to speak up.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and we should never become complacent. I think as women sometimes we do. क्योंकि सब लोग का काम चलते रहते हैं. But as a city, I think we should always speak up and contribute with courage. Avneet, can you share any personal experiences where you had to break through barriers in your legal career and now as a lawyer?
Sure. So similar to the advertising industry and a few others, I'm sure, अपने बहुत हैं जो practicing lawyers हैं या barristers. I've personally never seen a Sikh or even a Punjabi for that matter in court. Whenever I've been in court, they उस करके जब मेरे को कोई सवाल होता सीगा, I didn't have anyone who I could just confidently go to ask for. So जब मैं, I'll share a personal experience. So when I had to go to court or to the department, John Honda Siga, during my role as a staff, I had to go into Parliament House. but also we have to go through security with Pujana Tanda. They, Alkada and Alkid beep. So I always just get excited with cardiology and then you get a little bit nervous, you need to draw attention to yourself. I didn't like that. Before I was blessed with Amrit I was practicing with the guards for a few years. And what I would do is I would just leave my kirpan in the car and I would just go like that. And I would take my gada off and be going through the security. Cause no fuss at all. But then my kirpa was blessed with Amrit and doing the same thing, it just didn't feel right anymore. And we got, speaking up and, trying to have a place for yourself in there. So with that, and then I had to go to hearing city, I had to go to court in a few days, and I was more worried about the fact I'm not going to be able to go in with my kirpan than the actual hearing. But I had time to do my research, and I was hoping that for some that, like Canada, in the UK, they would have exemptions for kirpana, for going into court with those. So I did my research and Mehran hui ke ACT Supreme Court, which there was already an exemption for the kirpan, and I had been taking my kirpan off, so I didn't even have to do that. So I was really happy. I printed that out, highlight karke, tap karke apni file mein rakh liya, and I went in. I was just a little bit nervous because I thought oh beep zarur honi hai ye fir bhi, but mere ko log kaagaj sigate. I told my supervisor as well that this is going to happen, don't worry, I'm covered. That's what happened. I went in through security and it was so smooth, so easy. The elevator barrier, the one that I had to break, was very barla barrier. In fact, it was under the barrier. The barrier of one, my lack of knowledge, and also just doubt in myself. I don't want to draw attention to myself and the feeling of I just want to hide. ਤੇ ਉਹ ਬੈਰੀਅਰ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਅੰਦਰਲੇ ਬੈਰੀਅਰ ਜਦ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਕਰ ਲਈਏ ਬਾਹਰ ਵਾਲੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਢਹਿਣੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ so yeah I think that was the barrier that I broke.
Thank you so much, and that's really inspiring. I think ACT gave an EIP exemption maybe, and I now need to find out what happens in New South Wales. Maybe kirpan like it, but yeah, I think I need to educate myself on that.
Yeah, it is exempted.
That's good. Amandeep Benji, your career is very interesting. Because you see, 1995 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ career start ਕੀਤਾ ਜਦੋਂ a lot of women didn't work in India. They manager ਬਣ ਕੇ you actually had to start from scratch a few times because you took a break to have kids. How many times did you take a break, and how did you manage to, have the courage to start all over again? We सारा कुछ achieve करके break ਲਈ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ industry ਵਿੱਚ ਗਏ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਿਆ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਥੱਲੇ.
First of all, before I answer this, मैं पंजाबी से पूरा बोलूँगी because आज मौका मिले पंजाबी बोलने का मैंने ऑफिस से तो बोल नहीं पाते सी so पहला इन्हां सारे बच्चों ने लाइक मेरे ख्याल में 10-15 साल इन्हां तो अगे है in terms of experience but इतनी अच्छी खुशी होती है तो प्राउड के सारे जाने एक करियर बारे गल कर रहे हैं ये इन्हां नूं उदां दे इश्यूज नहीं है जेडे कुछ लोग रिलेट कर पाएंगे कि जॉब ही नहीं है मतलब लेडी मेरे टाइम तक 20 साल पहला मैं पहला अपनी फैमिली में मैरिज हुई है मेरी आई वाज द फर्स्ट वन जो नौकरी कर रहा है ठीक है ना मेरे मम्मा ने करे मेरी मम्मा कर रही थी वो कोई नहीं कर रहा सी सो ਤੁਸੀਂ आज सारे नौकरी वाले गल कर रहे हो ਤੁਸੀਂ ये गल कर रहे हो आई नीड टू टेक अ ब्रेक फ्रॉम ऑफिस और मेरा जॉब मैं बहुत परेशान हो गई है मैंने कुछ सोच रही कि रोज जॉब करा ये बहुत ज़्यादा प्रोग्रेस है कि अपने आप ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਾਈਟ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਤੇ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰਾਤਾ ਔਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਮਿਲੇ ਸਮਝਿਆ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ प्रोग्रेस हुई है मेरी सामने तो इनको सेलिब्रेट करना चाहिए सानू बहुत ज़्यादा सेलिब्रेट करना चाहिए आज के डेट ਵਿੱਚ भी साड़ी पैरेलल दुनिया जा रही है इन कंट्रीज वेयर विमेन बच्चे रह जाते हैं वो 9 साल तक पूरी ब्याह होती है राइट सो ਉਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ तो कोई ऑप्शन ही नहीं है कि ये कहती कि यार मैं आ नौकरी नहीं करनी मैं वो करनी सी सो सानू ਇਹਨੂੰ बहुत ज़्यादा प्रिविलेज लेना चाहिए और ਇਹਦਾ हर सेकंड ਇਹਦਾ एंजॉय करना चाहिए ਇਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ परेशानियां मिलियां हैं they are blessings we should be so proud and thankful
कि सानू ये ब्लेसिंग्स मिल गया है, ये परेशानियां यार डेडलाइन मिस हो गई, ऑफिस के कलेश ने, घरे न्याणे देखने, ये ब्लेसिंग इन्हां नू इदां ही लेके चलो, ये अच्छा फीलिंग आएगी। अपने आप को हमेशा फॉर योरसेल्फ टू बी हैप्पी ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਪੈਰੀਟਿਵ ਐਨਾਲਿਸਿਸ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਸ-ਪਾਸ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਐਟ ਦਿਸ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ so I'm like you might even think about them all being like if she can do it I can do it I mean you always need reference points या कोई इतना दा बंदा जेड़ा कि privileged नहीं है right so this is what has worked for me and I hope that for this financial company this is the expectation I had for my daughters as well जो बहुत जल्दी क्या होंगे यार pension knows there they very soon they going to be ready to be professionals. So this is one thing I want to share. Now my question about ups and downs. 98 I started my career. Graduation खत्म होने ही मेरी first job मिली customer support executive. So that sounds very good, but basically सानू एक software सेगा वो जाले के बेचना सेगा और वो भी issue भी solve करना सेगा. और मैंने हमेशा ही बड़ी audience मिलती थी because you are in sales, you know how उसे 100 बंदा रखा होता है. अगर बड़ी बात समझ नहीं रहे होंगे, बाकी सब देख रहे होंगे, न्याणा आया है थे. I was 21 और वो किस सोचते होने मेरा कभी मैं किसी चर्च जाके एंड इट वाज अकाउंटिंग सॉफ्टवेयर पे कभी किसी चर्च जाके सेल कर रहे हैं कभी किधर जाके सेल कर रहे हैं बट आई लव्ड एवरी मोमेंट मैं बहुत ज़्यादा इंजॉय की थी वो जॉब करते आई गॉट मैरिड मेरी फैमिली ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ मेरे लॉज ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ मेरी मदर ने शी इज नॉट देयर एनीमोर ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਬੋਲੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਕਿ ਸਾਰੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ में रोटियां बनाई रोटियां बन गई and I could never forget that one thing she said. मैं जॉब की थी, मैं खाने भी बनाए, मैं सारा कुछ सीखा पर मैं जॉब की थी, and I kept on doing it. बच्चे हुए, ऐसे बैंगलोर चले गए, मैं ब्रेक ले ली 4 साल से, because पता नहीं मुझे लगा कि नहीं मैं I have to be at this place 100%. मैं तो बच्चे वाले के आगे चला गया, 4 साल मैं जॉब नहीं की थी. 2001 तक मैं ऑलरेडी मैनेजर बन चुकी थी. क्योंकि मैं 98 को जॉब कर रही थी मैं ब्रेक ले लिया 2004 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 2009 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ मैं दोबारा एक दिन गुरप्रीत वाज इन ऑफिस मैनेजमेंट मेरी छोटी बेटी 1 साल की है बड़ी बेटी 3 साल की दोनों लड़ रही हैं रो रही हैं और मैं भी रो रही हूँ बिकॉज दिस इज नॉट लाइफ मैं की कर रही हूँ इतने बैठ के राइट मैं पूरा दिन उन्होंने देखी जा रही हैं वो सारे कुछ करी जा रहे हैं और मेरे कुछ मेंटल ग्रोथ ही नहीं हो रही है मेरी लास्ट ਜਿਹੜੀ मेंटल ग्रोथ ਸੀ ਉਹ 2004 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੁਕ ਗਈ ਰਾਈਟ आई मीन यू टॉकिंग टू योर फ्रेंड्स थोड़े सर्कल ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿਟੀ ਪਾ व्हाट यू वांट टू कॉल इट ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਆਪਣਾ ਪੋਹਾ ਕੰਪੀਟੀਸ਼ਨ ਹੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ मतलब आई नॉट सेइंग दैट्स बैड आई एम जस्ट सेइंग एट दैट पॉइंट आई वाज जस्ट थिंकिंग कि यार मैं अच्छा खाना बनाया कि उन्होंने अच्छा बनाया लाइक लाइफ वाज मोर फॉर मी देन दैट है ना फिर मैं एक दिन ग्रुप वाज इन ऑफिस I only knew one office Microsoft and I only knew one consultant. मैं उन फोन की टच आके मैं अपना पुराना रिज्यूमे पढ़ाया मैं क्या I want to get into a job. तो 2 घंटे बाद कॉल आ गया we have an interview tomorrow. Would you like to come and sit in the interview? मैं ठीक है. Gupit comes home I'm saying मैं कल इंटरव्यू में जाना है. ठीक है. We took me to the same office. ये बच्चे दोनों कार से रखे थे मैं इंटरव्यू देने गई. मैं एक चीज मैं दस्या नहीं कि मैं कुछ भी बात करूं because everybody knew me. So I didn't tell them I'm with this wife. I joined. मैं join मुझे जॉब मिली. मैं कहा आई जॉब मिली. ओके मुझे 2 दिन में अरेंज करो. फिर मेरे मम्मा आए, उनके मम्मा आए. Like I mean, it is not possible without having a support. एक बहुत सोचने की गल है कि तुसी कल्ले कर सकते हो नहीं कर सकते. 2 छोटे बच्चे हैं. Like वो मेरे मम्मा, गुरप्रीत के मम्मा, मेरा ब्रदर लॉ. It took the whole family to take care of them when I was anyways मैं जॉब शुरू की थी so this is my first break मैं जो पहली बार मुझे ब्रेक लेना गया और ओके सारे न्याणे हैं like they're all younger than me 5 to 6 years and they know more than me मेरा अपना बॉस मेरे को ज़रा गल कर रहे हैं उन्हें शायद मेरे को घट पता है but वो हार्ड होता है it's very 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 hard it's very hard for your own ecosystem as well because ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਸੀਨੀਅਰ ਬਣਨ ਦੀ ਆਦਤ ਪੈ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈ 4 ਲੋग बड़ा काम कर रहे हैं ਇੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ आप ही करना है and then but फिर ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ right you have to prove to yourself you have to prove to your kids ਉਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਸੋਚਦੀ ਸੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਸੋਚਣਗੇ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਬੋਲੇ and I was in Bangalore women like everybody's an engineer ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ engineering ਨਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਵੇ true ਤੇ फिर मैं बच्चे की कह रहे मेरे मम्मा कुछ नहीं करते and I thought that is not what I will give to my kids. Job की थी मैं रोती हूँ किसी ऑफिस के बीच बैठ के like tears in my eyes because I used to miss my kids at home. और वो न्याणे जी मुझे लगता जैसे कितना कम कर रहे हैं. But I learned, I kept on doing what I'm doing and I did more than I was supposed to do, more than anybody. I used to take things which people would say, "Chhad yaar, I don't want to do it because salary नहीं मिल रही है," right? I did more than anyone there. Within 4 years, I was senior manager again. Fair grouping में नवा bomb drop करता है एकदम post पे गया. That was 2015. I am group manager now. I work for Wells Fargo. उथे सारे 40-20 तो मेरे बंदे मुझे रिपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. वो मेरे लिए कभी मिठाई ले आ रहे हैं, कभी कुछ ले आ रहे हैं because किसी ने ब्याह हो गया and I'm being treated like a princess or queen there. ठीक है, इतने आ गए. इतने 4 महीने तक किसी ने पूछा ही नहीं. Like Penji knows I would be living in a granny flat here. फिर job मिली temporary. I was hired for 2 months and it's been 8 years I'm working in the same office. So temporary job मिली. ओके फिर वही हाल है और मैंने एक्सेल शीट पे काम करना भी भूल चुका है because I had people working for me again. फिर दोबारा फॉर्मूले लगाए सीखा सब कुछ किया. Within 3.5 and they were मैं 2 महीने हायर हुई थी as a backfill. 2.5 साल का मेरा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्सटेंड कर दे रहे टाइटल नहीं गया. So then they found that they created a job for me permanent किया 2019 के बाद से and then I am now reporting into a CIO. So, I mean, senior manager, CIO, whatever. So, ये बहुत मुश्किल होता है ब्रेक करके दोबारा उठना. तो अपन जिन्हें लोग थे स्पोर्ट्स खेल जिन्होंने पता है जो सट्टा लग रही है वो बहुत ज़्यादा डिफिकल्ट होता है. मेरे दत्ते खेल जिन्होंने पता है कि फट पैगे में it is very hard. बट करना ही है. There is nothing else to do ever. करना ही है और करो ही. because मेरी वो उठ के खड़े हो के ऊपर जाकर मेरी खुशी मिलती है ना वो तो मुझे नहीं मिलेगी. वो सच्ची पोहा कंपटीशन से नहीं है. I tried, I failed. So that is what I can share from my experience. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Benji. I didn't know you took part in poha competitions. Question for Jasneem. Can you share any specific initiatives that you've been involved in and how they've been able to make an impact at Resnet?
Yeah, so I'm probably not as good a storyteller as Andy, but one initiative that comes to mind is during the pandemic that we all faced. So as part of my role, I manage the clinical research side of the business, and that involves running clinics and seeing patients face to face. So when the pandemic hit, that all stopped, and we rely a lot on generating evidence to have evidence of the products that we're developing and launching them into the market that they're safe and then treating patients for this. So at that time, I led an initiative to diversify our clinical trials. So essentially developing capacity to conduct them remotely and digitally, which now sounds quite normal, telemedicine and telehealth, but 4 years ago it wasn't. It needed a lot of resources. We had to leverage a lot of digital tools, cloud connected software, and we successfully ran 4 clinical trials during lockdown, which was amazing for the business. It meant that business could continue as usual, and for the first time in the history of ResMed, we actually involved participants from all around Australia. So before, we only had people coming into clinics in Sydney, and by making this a remote and digital process, we were able to have our products trialed on patients in all states, different ages, different races, different genders as well. So that diversity was really, really great for the community. It ended up actually being nominated for an innovation award.
Thank you so much. I've got another question. So you have qualifications in physiotherapy and you're now working in the medical field. Are you also studying at the moment?
Yes.
And you're studying at the moment and you're also a mum. What sort of support network do you have and how important is that in your success?
I think it's the key to success. That's what Sanjhe said here. I've got the support of my parents, my family, my siblings, friends that I can call upon, and it really wouldn't be possible without them because it really is hard to do it all, and it's only because of the support and encouragement that I have from them that then empowers me to pursue my own interests and goals and aspirations that I have. So yeah, my key advice would be to definitely build a community around yourself, a network, a supportive one, and help you succeed in life.
See, ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਬਟ ਐਦਾਂ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹੀ ਕਹੀ ਜਾਈਏ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਯਾਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇੱਛਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇੱਛਾ ਸੀ ਇੱਕ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਨਰੋਲ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਰਾਈਟ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਇੱਛਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਘਰ ਕੋਈ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਉਹ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਛਾ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਪੋਰਟ बढ़ाने नहीं ये सिर्फ कहना कि यार कोई मेरे घर नहीं कुछ लिया और फिर ना करना वो फिर वो वाला फल नहीं मिलेगा so to be able to get that you need to first have that kind of passion in yourself फिर थोड़ी support create होती है so keep that is the key वो याद रखना वो बस
Thank you. So it's started a question and then we'll go through the Sanjhe for any questions. Can you share any examples of how your 6 values and principles have influenced your approach to problem solving and decision making in the industry? Anyone can start.
I'll ask the question one after. One of the things, I think you said is so important, right? I think we also need to acknowledge that a few of us are going to have it, but the culture over the generations for a long time, it doesn't create icha in a lot of women, right? And that's like we forget that Sikhi started in the context of India, but right? That's still the same. We're still birthing kids. We still have the same. We have to actually think about the career pauses and all that stuff. But at the same time, ojira narrative jani da kamaya bandha aha. Oh, aaj bhi apne generation so gaya. I'm hearing things like, no, but there's a jimmedari of a woman. Unadi seva hoती है. Jumna. Anapati di seva ya soya di seva blah blah blah, like rubbish. That's complete rubbish. Seva se jnaniya di nahi. Seva jodi apne dittiya sare mein ditti hui hai, right? And in the same way, it's like like I grew up like I'm sure you guys did too, right? But like in college school, it was like, what are the 3 golden rules, right? Like, what did Guru Nanak Dev Ji say? It's like naam japna, banke shakna, kirtan karna. Kirtan karni hai sikha bas bandiyan nahi, right? And it's let's drop that narrative, right? We need to drop the narrative that women need to work, not just for the one thing you're right mentioned, like kudos to the women who raise their kids at home, but you will lose your mom. You are not, your kids will be home for 5 years. That's it. 5 saal mein karna, uto baad, unna ne full-time school karna hai, and then all of a sudden you had a 5-year gap and you lost who you were as a person. That's not beneficial to your family. That's not beneficial to the fund. It's not beneficial to any of our community, right? And so I think that we will only create the icha if we channel back and start telling women, "Bi ek tak thodi zimmewari hai kent kardi, theek hai. The jehdi jinni seva thodi hai nyane ne jamman palan di, unni thode husband di diya." And we're starting to see that change. They're talking about millennials, dads being like the biggest change that we've seen, right? They're so much more involved. and they're there. And it's like, Tika support system, we grew up, Indian background is being sare barbaad hunde hain, right? But not everyone's going to have that. Kinne log kithe karde rehnde ne? Maa-pyo hain nahi, grandparents hain nahi. It has to be a joint network, and it's like between the husband and wife, and these things we have to start shifting. And I think then it starts going, the more we see that we loki kaam ta karde hain, theek hai, ichha baad chho honi, pehla zarurat ta hove, zarurat baare gall karni chahiye bhi, you don't have an option. Like ek ho gall hogi, and then the other thing is, financial independence is really important. Right? The numbers around financial abuse in Australia alone are ridiculous. And it gal theek hai kare baitho, but the thing is, when you're earning an income into the house, it doesn't matter numbers, kida baad ka jo bhi hai ya, but you have a proper say, and that helps relationships. And I think these things, jinapa inate na very tangible ne, but jinapa inate focus ni laune, we are just creating the exact same narrative which they inne source on the. So I think we need to make a change around that, because it's hard. It's very hard to have kids and have a family and do everything and still have your career, and that will always be hard. But it's like we have to make it a focus, and we have to start creating dynamics and narratives where it's seen as not just a female job. There's an actual question, isn't there? I'll let other people answer. There you go.
How have your Sikhi values influenced your approach to problem solving and decision making?
Now I echo your point. Gurdwara Glenwood. Yes, you're right. Sikhi values. Now Sikhi values, when I started working, मैंने तो Bhagat Singh, Sanjhe Rani, I used to get these labels because मैं तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा vocal सी about things going wrong around me, like very vocal, and sometimes not about me, about some other person. फिर मैं ये भी सीखा through my life, compassion is one thing I've learned from Sikhism. How we need to see everybody sitting in the room equal. कई बार मैं रूम में बैठी हूँ and kind of there are people who are not as bright and brilliant as you want them to be. ठीक है ना, फिर किसी को जज कर दो यार ये lazy है ये वो है. But you need to understand कि अगर हम उसी ने सिखाया है तो फिर सारे बंदे हमारे की रात सब एक हो जाते हैं ना, सारे बंदे उसमें अपना रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं. Let them all play the role. You play your part और तुसी अपना काम करो और बाहर. So this is what my recent lesson from Sikhi is, and it is not कि एक lesson होगा तो अपने throughout journey ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ नवे lessons ਲੈਂਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ और ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ behavior ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੇ nature ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ और ਤੁਸੀਂ inculcate educated part अपना शुरू हिस्सा बनाते हो. So currently I'm very much focused on compassion and let everybody be who they are. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ काम पे focus करो. Introspection, keep yourself in check. This is my current state plus PS.
Yeah, I completely agree with compassion and kindness as well. And another thing that comes into play, I think, is empathy and understanding. Where as a race, as Sikhs, we're supposed to be tolerant of others. Of course, not, being taken advantage of and speaking up when the situation needs it. But I think that's really important. I draw those values from Sikhi as well, definitely into my leadership as well. And that's how you then create an environment for your team that's supportive and inclusive, and it just allows everybody to be themselves. And like the others have said here, some people don't have a drive to progress further in their career. They're quite happy to come and sit at their desk, do that for 20 years, fine, respect that if that's what you do, if that's what they want to do. But you do have people who do have a bit of a spark, and as a leader, I think, and as a Sikh as well, you recognize that spark in someone and help that person to grow and develop and bring out those skills that they need to move forward as well.
Yeah, so I think really, we're all talking about this same problem, 50 साल पहला से कि women taking career breaks. Like my own, like Nandiji, she started a PhD, but then my mom was born, and she could never finish that. So it doesn't seem like the problems have changed as such. So to answer the question, sorry, I'll just continue on the thread. How has Sikhi helped me in my career, I guess? It's definitely all the values that we bring in, including compassion, himmat rakhni, determination, to be the best. But overall, just being viewed differently, just really, dastar karke, sroop karke, we look different and we're easily remembered. But hamesha hunda ke I don't want to make a mistake or look bad in a particular situation, and that just acts as a motivating factor. Okay, I've got to put in my best, and because I do look different, and that's always benefited me so far. Haven't made any big blunders so far, so good. But I got chosen for so many opportunities. In the marketing strategy, you got to keep people or do something that people will remember. So the firm who get to advertise they would send me. So I got cool opportunities like that. My personal growth bhi hui, so it's always helped me, and I think the Sugu plays a really big part in motivating me and bringing that to work.
Thank you. So I'll choose a slightly different focus because I think there's the external side of Sikhi with the way that we look and the way that we behave to others. But one thing, I think the biggest thing that has had an impact on my life is how Sikhi has changed me internally and how I relate to stress in the workday. There's so much that everybody is in stress. Everybody has their own stress from their family, relationships, money, work, and there's so much always going on. I work in a very fast-paced organization where things change constantly, and people are very stressed out about it. But the one thing I've always had feedback on from people I work with is how calm I am when things change, and stuff is not delivered on time, and it's going to mess up everything. It's like a huge whirlwind. But how Sikhi has helped me actually to stay focused is that Guruji came here to tell us that and gave us a message that this life is not the life. This physical body we have is not the true self. The mind that we have is just for now, is the mind, these thoughts that helps us to live this life. But why we're given this body and why we're here on earth is to connect back to Bible and to actually experience the inner life, the inner light. It's not about going to work every day. It's not about just raising our families. Those are important things, and we have to do them. But internally, we have to be detached from them and detached emotionally from these things as well. It's not an easy thing to do, and I know I've not reached a stage where I'm detached from these things. I still feel stressed. I still feel, things like angry. I still feel many things. But the biggest thing I would say that helps me is nitnem in the morning, is Simran, and coming to Gurdwara and connecting back to Buddha Sahib and just remembering this life is just temporary. Yes, and when I have these thoughts, when I feel stressed, and I just remember, this life is just temporary. Oftentimes, first of all, it calms me down, and then the thing just resolves itself anyway. Many times it's happened where there's no point, but I get so worried and worked out about things that it just gets resolved anyway. Guruji does it for me. So I think that's the biggest lesson in life. If I have one thing to say to this group of people, it's the Sikhi has so many qualities that makes us a beautiful person, but also we have to focus on the inside part as well, and remembering that it's not just about progressing in career, which is important, but it is about remembering at the end of the day we have a more important job to do above and beyond family, career, relationships.
Thanks, Sanjhe. All of us needed a reminder. क्योंकि कई बार इस वेरे नितने फटाफट कर लेते हैं, but we forget that nickname is actually self-care, and that is really important.
actually have one. So three of you here are mums, right? I'm just a new mum. How do you deal with the mum guilt? If you have any.
Oh.
That's a really good sign if you don't have it.
No. If anyone says they don't have mom guilt, they're lying to
Okay.
your face. Yeah,
Thank God.
It's a complete lie. Becky's point about, like when you're at work, like that's what I mean. These things aren't going to change. Hundreds of years before, people were like, and now, like my kids have been, if my industry doesn't have money, right? Legally, they do like they have to hold my job as anything. So for me, also to that point, I didn't want to take long breaks. That was my personal choice. My mat leaves were 4 months, 5 months, that's about it. And so my kids were in daycare from like day one, and everybody would be like, "Hi, good afternoon," like including my parents, right? They'd be like, and I'm like, my mom was like, "You work every time," like, oh, right? But it's that mom guilt is always going to exist. But I think that's the thing. It's like, in this current world, we're not living in the world that exists in 150 years ago. Realistically, one income isn't going to house in Sydney either, right? We all need to work. Work is just not going to pay themselves. So it's like, and I have all my friends, everyone's made different calls about when they go back and what they do, right? And even to the point of even if you go, I need to go take a break, man, I'm gonna go see my friends, you're gonna feel long, go, right? But it's, I think you just need to accept that whenever you do it, whether you decide to start work early, whether you decide to do that first night without your kid early or later, look at them. Right? It's like ripping off a band-aid, right? After the first 3, 4, 5 times, then it becomes normal, right? But it exists. Yeah. And anyone who tells you otherwise is lying. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The mom guilt is very real, and it's a great conversation starter when you were talking to executives at work as well. Everyone feels it. So I think the way I tackle it is acknowledging it. Firstly, it's a real feeling, and my mom's a housemate that has always been. She gave up a career after she had kids. So it's difficult when their generation has not gone through the same challenges that we have. But I think what helps me is clear communication at work, setting boundaries. So, I have times when I have to take my daughter to a class and someone might have put a meeting at that time, and I work with different time zones around the world, so, that might be the only window. But then negotiating that and communicating that, this is my family time, and any other day of the week I can do, yes, but on this occasion I have to put my family first and set that boundary, put your foot down. And it's been working really well. We encourage other people in our team who are parents or even pet parents to do the same thing. But yeah, it's definitely very, very real.
Any other questions?
First of all, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧਾਈ ਹੋਵੇ। ਇੰਨਾ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਟੌਪਿਕ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੈਨਲ ਸਜਾਇਆ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੀਡਰਸ ਹਨ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਟਰੀਬਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਓਨੈਸਟਲੀ ਸਪੀਕਿੰਗ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੋਲ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ, ਜਦੋਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੋਈ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਉਹ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਉਹਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਗਿਆ ਸੋ ਆਲਮੋਸਟ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ ਦੇ ਆਨਸਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹਨ। ਇਟ ਮੀਨਸ we are all in right direction. So I guess ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੜੀ inspiring ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ, and we talked about all of you have got a really good career. On the top of that, maybe with the grace of Guruji, you have got a good family supporting you. Doesn't matter whether dukh sukh da jagah ghera hai, ਉਹਦਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ, So it means you are all very fortunate where you are. So let's talk about, when we talk about women in general, because this is all about women empowerment today. And definitely even this era, after 150 years of struggle of being women, where we're supposed to be, we're not still there, because still our sisters and daughters are suffering. And so it means we have got a baton to carry this task, and this is a forum, and this will continue. My question is that this year's Inspire Inclusion, right? How will you inspire inclusion for those who don't have voice, for those maybe they are from minority, maybe because gender equality is hitting them so hard. So how do you inspire personally? What do you think about when you will have a chance to your neighbor, to your daughter, to your anyone known to you or someone else? How do you see as inspire inclusion? Thank you. Anyone can answer it.
A question of this that couldn't really come to me. Yes, मैं यही सोचती हूँ कि पर्पस की है यहाँ, राइट? एंड 2 बारी मैं कोशिश की थी सब कुछ हटे करे आना। एक बारी मैं सोचा मैं गुजरात से दुनिया में यूके। फिर रिमेंबर मैं बोली ऐसे ना अंदर होना चाहिए फिर सब सपोर्ट करके वो इतना सीधा ही नहीं अंदर मैं रुकी। दूसरी बार मैं सोचा मैं रवि सिंह में जाके सीधे करिए, राइट? फिर रुकी। Which means ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਫਿਰ ਰੁਕ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਸ-ਪਾਸ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਦੇਖੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਸਹੀ ਹੈ। ਇੱਥੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਆ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨਾ, ਹਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਹਲੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਲਚਰਲ ਹਲੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਇਕੁਐਲਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਲੈਵਲ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ। ਹਲੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਰਸੋਈ ਸੰਭਾਲਣੀ ਹੈ, ਜੌਬ ਵੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੰਮ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ। मैं एग्जाम्पल देनी है कि आज मैं मेरा दिल कितना मैं 4 साल घर बैठ गई, इट वाज माय चॉइस। couldn't do that। वो बोले मेरा दिल नहीं कर रहा 4 साल घर बैठ नहीं बैठ सकता, राइट? सो ਉਹਦੀ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਅਲੱਗ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਬੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਆਪਣੀ ਹੀ ਇਸ ਸੋਸਾਇਟੀ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਨਾ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਇੱਥੇ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਅੱਛੇ ਖਾਣੇ ਖਾ ਕੇ ਪੱਕੇ ਪੁੱਕੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਅੱਛੀਆਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। while we are doing here ਉੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ 12 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਦਾ कोई 10 साल का बच्चा चक्या गया, राइट? पूरी लाइफ पता नहीं वो की होएगा, जिंदा रहेगी की होएगा की नहीं होएगा। इतनी दूर मैं हूँ इस टाइम पे इन दिस कैपेसिटी, इतनी दूर की सफाई माइंडसेट सफाई करना नहीं किया मैंने, राइट? मैं बहुत ज़्यादा परेशान भी रही इस गल वास्ते कि यार की मैं जाके कुछ करके आऊँ, राइट? पर मैं फिर एक गल समझी कि जितने मैं है इस मूवमेंट के विच मैं अपने आस-पास की चेंज लेके आ सकती हूँ, राइट? मैं अपनी बेटियां इस तरह उन्होंने बाकी हमारा जगह रखते हैं, मैं उन्होंने इस तरह प्रिपेयर कर रही है कि उन्होंने मैं दसिया है कि उन्होंने आस-पास दुनिया के विच इस टाइम पे पैरेलल के विच की हो रहा, राइट? एंड मेकिंग देम अवेयर, एटलीस्ट आई एम क्रिएटिंग अवेयरनेस। एंड माय डॉटर्स पिक उन्हें अबाउट स्टडी किया कोर्स ना, मैं उन्हें इतना इनकरेज किया। मैं नहीं उन्हें बोला कि यार तुझे चला ये लगा वो लगा मार्क्स फॉर ये वो सब ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਇਨਕਰੇਜ ਮੈਂ ਉਹ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ ਯੂ نو ਅੰਡਰ ਆਈ ਮੀਨ ਮੈਂ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਘੁੰਮ ਗਿਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਸਟਾਰਟਸ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਕਨੋਲੇਜ ਤਾਂ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਐਕਨੋਲੇਜਮੈਂਟ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਆਫਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ because we're in government office we put that slogan out there I acknowledge the land and country and everything we do that people respect people do we really respect people we don't तो मैं स्टार्ट देख के मेरा दिमाग घुम गया। सो अपने करंट सिचुएशन के बीच जो तुसी कर सकते हो जरूर करो। मैं अपने आस-पास ये अवेयरनेस रखती है, मैं लोगों ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ करती है, मैं हमेशा करती है कि आस-पास की हो रहा है, कितने कुड़ियां अंडर प्रिविलेज है, कितने से चकना है। आई पार्ट ऑफ वुमेन इन आईटी मेरे ऑफिस में कुछ से गल की थी, आई एम पार्ट ऑफ दैट टीम। साडे मैं एक प्रपोजल किया सीगा व्हिच इज नॉट चलो मैं ਅਸੀਂ ग्रुप ने प्रपोजल किया ਸੀ कि ਅਸੀਂ कॉलेज ਵਿੱਚ जाके स्कूल लेवल पे ही जाके एजुकेशन नहीं करांगे कि कुड़ियां और कोशिश करन स्टेप्स ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਉਹ ਕੀ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ आईटी पिछों ही कौन सी नहीं चक रही मेरी अपनी बेटियां आईटी कोर्स भी करना चाहती हैं राइट लाइक शी इज स्माइलिंग probably she is the same ओ कहती है कि आईटी नहीं चक रही ऐसी कुछ भी करना है so we are going back we are trying to go to the schools at the 7th 8th 9th 10th से जाके खुद भी जाके कितना कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि STEM is for you don't think it is for boys only because वो mindset ही ਉੱਥੇ क्रिएट हो ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਪੰਜਵੀਂ ਛੇਵੀਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ तो वो चेंज करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਫਸਟ ਐਂਟਰੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਗ੍ਰੈਡ ਐਂਟਰੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਵਾਹੀਨੀ ਕਰਕੇ ਵਾਹੀਨੀ ਇਜ਼ ਦ ਲੋਕਲ ਲੈਬੋਰੇਟਰੀ we picked that name where we are focusing on bringing more women in 3 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ we should not talk stat but 38% women ਅਸੀਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਆਈਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਹੁਣ ਨੈਕਸਟ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਵਾਂ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਹੈ ਕਿ women ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਲੈਵਲ ਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਉੱਪਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ they get stuck at one level ठीक है ना ਉੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ either it is mindset ਕਿ ਉਹ 50-50 ਬਿਜ਼ੀ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਘਰੇ ਜਾਂ ਆਫਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਕੁਝ ਹੋਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਚਾਹੀਏ ਸਿਰਫ ਬਰਥਡੇਜ਼ ਹੀ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰ ਦਿਏ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਆਈ ਡੋਨਟ ਨੋ ਹਾਊ ਮਨੀ ਆਫ ਯੂ ਨੋ ਜਨਰਲੀ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨੋਟਿਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਅਗਰ 10 ਬੰਦੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਆਫਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਟ ਇਕੁਅਲ ਲੈਵਲ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਬਰਥਡੇ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰਦਾ ਉਹ ਵੇਖ ਵੂਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਣਾ ਉਹ ਦੇਖਣ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹਾਂ because no I'm not going to organize cakes for you so ਅਸੀਂ start ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ now we trying to work on that to bring them from that level to the next level मैं आप चार तक कुड़ियां नहीं मेंटर कर रही हूं ऑफिस ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ so वो कई बारी तो कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं it's not about men and women anybody can but ਉਹ ठीक है ਤੇ हाँ ਜਦੋਂ ਜੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ मैं जाऊंगी बड़ा काम करूंगी तब तक ਤੁਹਾਡੇ आसपास जो हो रहा है बस उनको इंस्पायर करने की कोशिश करो that's what I'm trying to do thank you
I think if anyone knows Auntie, they know the amazing work she does in our community. And I think Auntie, you're always thinking bigger, right? You're like, we're doing this, but then you guys came up with a wider community and for people around the world. I was like, whoa, that's a lot to take on. But no, I 100%. And you know what? There's going to be different points in your life where you're saying, you know, like there's going to be, like for instance, I've spent the last 6 years of my life either being pregnant or recovering from pregnancy. So there have been moments where I've had energy and moments where I'm breaking down and I'm like, I cannot do anything even beyond the day. And I think that's a reality we need to talk about, right? Sometimes you don't have capacity. But I think to your point, for me, it's one, in our homes. I don't think we're addressing it enough yet. And like the type of people who are coming to our foundation, people who need help, and and probably my husband will laugh about this, but I have a label amongst probably my family and the in-laws that she's going to push get out of food, right? And I think it's good. God, which we hona chahiye jehde darde ne log bhi je main puthi gal kehti hai jawab dena, right? Like the other day somebody said to me, they saw me mowing the lawn outside and they're like, just come check it. And I looked at him and I was just like, I got the kid this na. Right? And they're like, but started laughing. He's like, maybe ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸਿਖਾ ਦਿਓ. I was like, ਫਿਰ ਨਾ ਬਾਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸਿਖਾਉਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਵੀ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਚਾਹ ਪਾਣ ਬਣਾਉਂਦਾ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਕੌਣ ਕਰਦਾ.
I love this.
Right? And it's like, but they should be afraid. When someone's about to make a wrong comment, we have to be the ones that vocalize.
Yeah.
I've sat in conversations with family members where they go, they're talking about, they're like, oh, you know, so-and-so's got anger issues, the husband. And if someone older goes, पिछले उन्हें दिमाग में तो चल गया सी कहीं भी चलना चाहिए and right, and all of a sudden I lost it, and I was like, अच्छा बस आपने अपनी बारे में सोचो दूसरी में चलना चाहता है आप मुद्दे आने में सुधारो अपने आने right, generation after generation see it करेगा. So I think in terms of back to the point of narrative, I think is so important, and we need to start being the vocal ones in our families, in the houses, so that people at least are told, we have to see God to keep me right? Even at least then, that person try to buggle na, they'll know not to say that out loud. But I promise you, somebody is actually feeling that. And at least एक second भी होगा, I have an ally in the family. I have someone who will defend me if I need to go speak to somebody. Right? So I think in our families, at home is so important. And then I think the next circle is our community. The W's, the 6, everybody here. I think globally we have to address this. And then the next one I think is like, you know, how do we go beyond that? Initiatives like I think Benji, you're already doing so much more than you think you are in terms of mentoring from the outside of that and everything.
You see people and then you like, what's new?
Exactly, I know, I agree. But I think even in that, like the wider community one as well, there's different things that we need to take on. Personally, I've now, like, I've struggled with this because sometimes, you know, and that's why I genuinely, again, I do say that in the beginning, going, like, well done on actually stepping up to a Gurdwara meeting, right? Because for so long, I caught myself saying I talk a lot, but then I'm like, when it comes to doing something I don't really want to do, and I forced myself to say yes when this came up, because I was like, no, I can't. Like, when community things come up, again, it's about changing the narrative. The more we talk, the more we challenge it, the more it will actually change. And I think people need to hear us saying that, and I'm okay with being that guy if I need to for that. And I think we need to be okay with that.
Love that, Benji. I myself in my family, you know, family and dad, we can get all the yeah. So you know, we're taking you to Fulana person's house to the but genuine satisfaction will humility all unmatched. Okay, and as a Sikh, I think we do need to speak up. Like you know, तू रोटी बनानी सीख लाया या तू बनाने आ गई तू चाय बनानी तू जा and my brother sitting there like playing on his PS4 so like मैं नहीं करना सारे के सामने and you know eventually they stopped saying that.
Good. So it's different with me now. So initially when the office started, forget it, like going to university. Office which I called it about as well. But the chance that I can do this. They had a policy and I have been always, and बहुत recent हुआ है 4-5 साल से कि वो मेरे नाल में ladies बैठियां होंगी हैं office के बीच मैं तो कल ही होंगी सी मेरे सारे कॉलेज बंदे होते थे मेरे डांस बंदे होते थे मैं हमेशा कल ही होंगी सी ते वो कोई गल होंगी सी ते आजकल वो नवा नैरेटिव की हो गया मेरे ऑफिस में पिछले 5-7 साल तो 7-8 साल तो जे कोई डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन होती है तो बंदे कहते हैं अरे हम अमन जी के पीछे खड़े हो गए so people kind of well hide behind me now so I protect the men so keep going that is the way it will be protecting the men but एक बहुत जरूरी है कि वाइल ऐसी कुड़ियां को एजुकेट कर रहे हैं बच्चे मैंने नो बोला पहचान नहीं बनानी और मैंने आप उसका क्या हाँ कि मैं जॉब करनी है प्लीज सानू अपने बच्चों को मुंडियां को अपने ब्रदर्स को it is very important कि इसे उन्हें सिखाना शुरू कर दें मैं ये कह रही कि हम women will just go ऐसी पागल हो जाते सारे कुछ भी कर सकते नहीं because इधर नहीं होता ऐसी बैलेंस क्रिएट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं इधर फिर बैलेंस नहीं करते प्लीज मुंडियां को सिखाना शुरू करो women की रिस्पेक्ट होती है boys are like this ठीक है यार मुंडे हिंदे शरारता करते हैं और यार मुंडे हिंदू लैंग्वेज इतना नहीं होती है प्लीज और सिर्फ एक को ही इंसान ये कर सकता है माँ कोई नहीं कर सकता कोई भी नहीं कर सकता है अपने बच्चे को सिखाना भावे कुड़ी है भावे मुंडा सिर्फ माँ ही सिखा सकती है प्लीज उन्होंने हौली रोज थोड़ा रिस्पेक्ट सिखानी शुरू करो उन्होंने फ्रेंड्स डर के नहीं कि वो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी पुलिस कंप्लेंट हो जाएगी अंदरूनी इट शुड बी लाइक अ नेचुरल थिंग ऑल द बॉयज start respecting women and all the girls start respecting the respect they are receiving from men. So, वो फिर अच्छी society हो सकता है बनता है वो बस का सामने yeah.
But I'm going to challenge you on that actually. I don't think the role is just moms. I think that I think we underestimate the role that dads have. और न चाहे प्योर कामते हो गए रोज, the sons become their dads. No, I'm not sure you like you.
I tell you why. This is a psychological thing. It's nothing to do with society. Because I am a child psychology graduate. So it's a psychological thing. It's nothing to do with men can't educate girls. I'm not challenging that fact. My husband does more than I do because वो night shift करता है more with my daughter than I do. What I'm trying to say is, एक psychological bond है कि बच्चा भावे वो मुंडा हो गए या कुड़ी हो गई या पैक हो गए वो माँ ही ज़्यादा सुंदर है. This is इस सृष्टि बनी है, not challenging the सृष्टि.
जेदा मानो और टेक मदर इज बीन आल्सो बहुत सारे ऐसे सारे ਅਸੀਂ अपने मदर ਨੂੰ फॉर ग्रांटेड भी ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ मैं अपनी मम्मा ਨਾਲ ਲੜਾਈਆਂ ਕਰਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਫਾਦਰ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਰਦੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਵੀ ਸੇਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੋ ਇੱਕ ਇਹ ਸਾਈਕੋਲੋਜੀਕਲ ਫੈਕਟ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਇੰਬਰੇਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਘਰੇ ਇਨਵੋਲਵ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਬਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਦਰ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਬੋਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦਾ ਇੰਪੈਕਟ ਬਹੁਤ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਸਾਈਕੋਲੋਜੀਕਲ ਨਥਿੰਗ so probably you're right I should have expanded my statement by giving the answer the underlying situation to it it's a psychological thing because now men and women are made nothing to do with the society nothing to do with the learnings
Biological.
yes
Yeah.
that's it nothing more
And I totally get what you're saying there. The only reason I say that is because I think, like I said, I don't think people realize every time they speak up. For instance, like to that point, I grew up with my dad. Like, if I challenged him in a conversation, our dad jacked us. Right? It was constantly like, oh, right? So I think that's a big thing. Also, for instance, like when my brothers were learning to change tires on cars, so was I. You know, when everything was happening. So I think from that perspective, I think that there's, in terms of actions, I get what you're saying of underlying biologically, yes, okay, listen, but I think in terms of the role men play and their actions and the way they step up in moments to go, you know, the way I see my dad defend my mom, you realize now I'm married with kids and I go, oh my God, I grew up with this, like, way too much confidence because I saw him do it. Right? And then that's the thing, and I think that you talk about, like, you know, women being in difficult situations, domestic abuse, in any of these scenarios, I think it comes down to they need both sides. I think men need to see their dads stepping up, and women need to see their dads playing a very respectful role. And I think that makes a big difference in generations.
which we have already said, like we've already
Yeah.
avoided.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
that is already stated for that.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing to the roles they play.
Yeah.
We're just talking about the biological effect of a mom has on a child.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. It's the way the biologically God has made people with different minds. Yeah. And the impacts they bring on their kids or society.
Yeah.
Right?
On that note, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Gurnwara, Benji, Justin Benji, Avni, Amni Benji, and Jabli Benji. I think a छोटा उपराला सीगा discussion start करना, but it's clear that we need to continue these discussions. So we'd love to have you, continue these discussions not with ourselves but also with Sanjhe. So thank you so much. James, is that what you also have? Oh, you've got a question. Okay. Last question. बाकी जे किसी को question है कि ਅਸੀਂ बैकअप शुरू करना है? हाँ जी, कोई last question पूछो।
I'll try to make it up. बहुत मुबारक सारे ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਫੋਰਮ ਅਰੇਂਜ ਕੀਤਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਅੱਛਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਮੁਬਾਰਕਾਂ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹਾਂਗਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇਨਕਰੇਜ ਕਰੋ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਫੋਰਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਇਆ ਕਰਨ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਸੁਣ ਸਕਣ ਔਰ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਵਿਊ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਸਮਝ ਸਕਣ ਸੋ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਹੈਗਾ ਦੂਸਰਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਰਿਲੀਜੀਅਸ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਭਈ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਮਾਨੁਖ ਦੇ ਹੋਇਆ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਮਿਲਣ ਕੀ ਇਹ ਤੇਰੀ ਬੜੀਆ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ because when I was young, of your age or even younger than that, and still now, I'm trying to translate into real life. How to translate this? When Guru Sahib said, what is the aim of life? कई प्राप्त मानव के लिए ओपन मिलन की हेतु बढ़िया ते वो मैं हले तक जो क्योंकि ऐसे जब आप ऑफिस जाने हैं ये कार जो ड्राइव कर रहे हैं सारे स्पिरिचुअल स्टेट ऑफ माइंड अवेल नहीं होती बार बार तुसी हमेशा गुरु साहब ਦੇ ਚਰਨਾਂ ਵੱਲ ਧਿਆਨ ਹੋਏ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਦੀ so how you can suggest me how should I do how your generation can is doing to translate what Guru Sahib is saying in this struggle and also at the same time ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ discussion ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ so ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਤਲਬ ਵੂਮਨ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਰਿਸਪੈਕਟ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ only thing Amandeep carries he very yeah. But only question is the gender equality. ना कि मतलब अपने बच्चों को सिखाना भी, पर मदर जो दे सकती है जैसा इन्होंने किया, वो फादर नहीं दे सकता. Mother gives a birth to a child, and attachment by nature, by law, not by law, but nature, it is more attached to mom. Even I am personally more attached to my mom than my father, but it is natural. It's not even, you may call it psychological or something. What mother can give, and father has his own role. So it is a question of equality and respect for both of them. Thank you.
थैंक यू अंकल. ये सवाल ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਖੈਰ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਇੱਕ ਪਰਸਨਲ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੀ ਹਾਂ. ਭਾਈ ਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਬੜੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਅਲਫਾਜ਼ ਨੇ, ਖਤਕਾਰ ਵੱਲ ਚਿੱਠਿਆਰ ਵੱਲ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੱਡਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਕਿ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਣਾ ਵੱਡੇ ਗੱਫਿਆਂ 'ਚ, ਬਾਕੀ ਕੰਮ ਛੋਟੇ ਗੱਫਿਆਂ 'ਚ. ਤੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਦ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਵੋਕਿੰਗ ਟੂ ਦ ਬਾਥਰੂਮ, ਪਰਸਨਲੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਮਰਨ ਕਰੀਏ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ. ਤੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਸ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਭਾਈ ਬਰਾਬਰ ਮਾਨ ਦੀ ਬੜੀਆ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਦੀ ਤੇਰੀ ਬੜੀਆ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਬਾਹਰ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਮਿਲੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਅੰਦਰ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬਾਹਰ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਮਾਰ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਦਾ ਕੁਝ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ. ਸੋ ਇੱਕ ਲੈਵਲ ਤੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਹੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ. ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੇਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਹੈਗਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੇ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ. ਤੇ ਇੱਕੋ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਜੋ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੱਡਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਸਿਖਾਇਆ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗਾਂ ਨੇ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਨਾਮ ਜਪ ਕੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੰਦਰ ਵਾਲਾ ਘੱਟ ਕਰਕੇ. ਸੋ that's my personal. ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪਰਸਪੈਕਟਿਵ ਪੁੱਛਾਂਗੀ.
आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. छोटा जो पहला सीगा एएसए वालों कि ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੱਜਕੱਲ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਬਣਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ. ਫਸਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਇਨ ਦ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਆਫ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਖੜੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਵੂਮਨਸ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਪਲੋਏ ਕੀਤਾ. ਸੋ ਥੈਂਕ ਟੂ ਕਿਰਨ ਤੇ ਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੋਰਟਫੋਲੀਓ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਵੂਮਨਸ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟਰ ਐਂਡ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟਰ. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਉਪਰਾਲੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਹਿਡਨ ਟ੍ਰੈਜ਼ਰ ਹੈ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਨੇ ਭਾਈ ਕਾਲਾ ਨਾਮ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਫਾਊਂਡੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਡੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਫਿਗਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ NGOs. ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਗੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਇਸ ਵਾਰੀ ਟਰਾਈ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਨਵੀਂ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਟਰੀਬਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਈਏ. ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹੀ ਆਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੁਝ ਇੰਸਪੀਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਲੇਗੀ, ਕੁਝ ਮੋਟੀਵੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਇਆ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਮ ਫਾਰਵਰਡ. ASA ਦਾ ਜੋ ਮੈਨੀਫੈਸਟੋ ਸੀਗਾ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਯੂਥ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਗੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ASA ਦੀ ਬੋਰਡ ਹੈ 15 ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟਰਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖਾਲੀ ਮੇਲ ਪਾਰਟੀਸਪੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੂਮਨ ਵੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਉਣ. ਔਰ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡੀ ਬੋਰਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 2 ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਅਗਰ ਲੁੱਕ ਫਾਰਵਰਡ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਸਭ ਕਮੇਟੀਜ਼ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੀ. ਹੁਣ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਆਈ ਵਿਲ ਲੁੱਕ ਫਾਰਵਰਡ ਟੂ ਅਮਰੀਕ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਸ਼ੀ ਇਜ਼ ਲਾਇਰ ਐਂਡ ASA ਨੂੰ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਲੀਗਲ ਐਡਵਾਈਸ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਗਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਿਸੋਰਸ ਹੈ ਸੋ ਵੀ ਕੁਡ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਬੈਂਕ ਅਪਨ ਯੂ. ਐਂਡ ਇੱਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਸੋਸਾਇਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਿਥ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਸੀਗੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ. ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਮੋਸਟ ਆਫ ਯੂ ਮਾਈਟ ਐਗਰੀ ਵਿਦ ਮੀ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਨੇ ਬਾੜਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਜਾਈਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਦੇ ਆਰ ਨਥਿੰਗ. ਬਟ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੂੰਹ ਤੇ ਚਪੇੜ ਪਈ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਆ ਸਕੇ ਨੇ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਿੰਗ ਸੁਣਨ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪੋਸਟ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ. ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭਰਮ ਵੀ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਬਾਣਾ ਤੇ ਬਾਣੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕਿਤੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਏ. ਹੁਣ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਵਿਰਾਸਤ ਵਿਵਾਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਗੁਰ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਨਦਰੀ ਕਰਮ ਲਗਾਏ ਪਾਰ. ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਹੈ, ਭਰੋਸਾ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਗੁਰੂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ. ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਭ ਨੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਵਿਟਨੈਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਇਹੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਅਗਲੇ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਹੋਰ ਕੁਝ ਸਮਾਂ ਰਹਿ ਗਿਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੰਸਟਰਕਟਿਵ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਦਿਓ. ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਭਾਈ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਈ ਪੈਨਲ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਵੀ ਕਰੀਏ ਤੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਫਿਊਚਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਮਹੀਨਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਵਾਂਗੇ ਜਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਰਹੇ, ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਰਹੇ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।